The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Desolate Souls Presents. And tonight we're doing Blue Eye Samurai Episode 2 review. And with me, as always, when I'm doing this, is Amateur Analyst. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. How's everyone in the chat doing?
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to do this review. Like every episode gets kind of better and better and better as we continue this. And I just after watching episode 2 again today, I'm just like pumped to go through this. It's just I love this series. It's just fantastic. Everything about it I love, and I'm just excited to talk with you about this and rave about it. So I just want to quickly refresh episode 1. I want to thank everyone that's watched that, and thank you for the comments and everyone that joined us on that. That was very kind of you. And please be a friend, tell a friend about Jay from Desolate Souls Presents and amateur analyst doing the review of Blue Eye Samurai. We'd greatly appreciate it. And please go check out Amateur Analyst's channel as well. He's got some great videos there. He does reviews of Arcane, Iron Giant. He did do Top Gun, but that's on Rumble.
Yeah, for reasons.
Yeah, for reasons.
Top Gun's on Rumble, and then I also have a really terrible review of Oppenheimer, which is also there for your viewing pleasure.
Well, you ready to do this? Let's get right into it. All right, awesome. This is episode 2. This one's called. Actually, I'll let you talk about this one there, bud. Episode 2.
Yeah, it is called An Unexpected Element, which I think is a nod to The Hobbit. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that is referring to the brittle blade that I guess this episode's sort of villain or antagonist has. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah. As you can recall from episode 1, we ended it off with oh my god, I'm already like losing my mind. Ringo seeing Mizu. Was it Mitsu?
Mizu.
Mizu. I always want to say Mitsu. Mizu healing in the water, and seeing that it's actually a female samurai, and
Yep.
he's kind of the shock. So we're continuing off of that into episode 2, which is in the woods here, and Ringo's kind of following. Oh no, we're getting the four fangs
Yeah.
chasing after him. Yeah.
Well, what do you expect? You hit up an entire samurai dojo in the biggest city in Japan, and you expect not to get, at least a couple stars? Come on. You got a bounty now.
This animation's fantastic. I love the color schemes they do for this, even the shades, the dark silhouettes, and then like just the wind blowing in just for the light coming through.
Yeah.
Like
they have a lot of color.
Yes, it just takes you like you're in the hut with them when you're watching this. It's cold outside, but you want to be close to that fire there to keep warm.
A lot of great environmental sound design too. Like you hear the cloth, you hear the fire. Like everything sounds really close. They don't really play with reverb too much, so it makes everything feel very like warm and cozy. And then when they're outside, of course, they do add a bit of echo, but. Yeah, especially for indoor scenes. It's something I really noticed watching this show is everything is just really warm sounding. So that definitely helps sell the visuals.
Mm-hmm. And here we have the bucket of blood that's from the slicing of the fingers from Haichi Shindo, or not from from the
I forget his name now, but the flesh trader.
Yes, the flesh trader.
They're all Japanese names, and we're very Canadian, so it's almost impossible for us. So
yeah, it wasn't Haishi Shindo. It was the flesh trader. What's his name? Oh my god, I can't remember his name. But he had his fingers sliced off, and the four fangs come in. And I love that. Actually, I'm just gonna go back on the shadows. I love the scene right here, like just perfect.
Yes, very nice setup.
Yes, it's a great start.
Yeah, they also sort of like, instead of showing them walking in, they make it a lot more ominous, so that when you do first see them, they're like all standing in a row, and like, they're showing them like at their most sort of like aggressive or intimidating looking, which I thought was pretty cool. It's very dramatic. Definitely put thought into that.
And then we see the four fangs standing there questioning the father of Ringo, and he's kind of stunned. And I love this because like the light from the snow, like the daylight like reflecting off the snow into the hut.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's perfect. Everything about it is perfect.
And it frames them because it creates this really good reason for having this vignette.
Yeah.
It's like a painting. It's very well done.
And then they start to ask questions, and he's hesitating, and the one guy he's just like, "Hey, we're eating here."
Yeah, shut up. We're trying to eat here.
Yeah.
Like, how fucking dumb can you be?
Yeah. They're all dressed in black with like demonic masks on. They're samurai. They're Ronin. Like this guy thinks he's gonna.
Yeah, they're like a famous assassin group.
Yeah. Hey,
armed to the teeth, and they look pissed, and they're probably in a hurry because they're trying to track someone.
Yeah. So that didn't end too well, and so then the father, gives up all the information about Mizu, and even saying, they even took my son. I'm like, wow, what a great father you are! Like, just like giving up your own kid, like
yeah, they took my son, an invalid. He likes to tack on.
Yeah.
They spilled blood everywhere, which is fine. Which is fine.
I should hit the chat here. Hey Vex, how's it going? Thanks for dropping in, leaving some love for y'all, as I won't be able to tune in when you're live. Cheers, fellas. Thanks, Vex. Caleb Reynolds, thanks for joining us, bro. I always appreciate you coming on. Philo Winnipegger, Halder 6480, thanks for jumping on, bud. Thank you again. And yes, please hit that like and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it to both the channels here. So we would greatly appreciate that. So the four fangs get the information from the father. They leave. Yeah, there he's the guilty. And I love the images that you're getting of the four fangs throughout this whole like episode. Like they just make them dark and
well,
gritty.
they're the
evil.
main source of tension for the entire episode. So it was really important to frame them like this here, which of course they do. Definitely appreciate that.
And Blue Eye Samurai with the red curtain in the background. First episode was blue. Because obviously the blue eyes, but also from the meteorite or comet or what is it? The comet, that metal that came through that was blue.
Well, the way they have it animated, it looks like a comet, but you can't be always scientifically accurate. But
yeah,
I mean, technically it's a meteor, but it looked like a comet. I don't know.
It's the metal that came from
space junk.
Yeah, space poop, just like
there we go.
Yeah. So the red in the background, Blue Eye Samurai, is obviously an indication that this one's going to be bloody.
I did not notice that. I definitely didn't notice that.
Yeah, you see the bucket of blood in the beginning, and then you see them take out all the customers in the hut, the noodle hut, and then you see the red in the background. So it's an indication that this one's going to be like a bloody episode, and we'll get into it a little bit more because there's a lot of references to blood in this. So we start with Mizu walking through the forest, and then you see Ringo in the background following. Do you want to touch on anything here there?
Yeah, there's a serious like Shrek donkey sort of like sidekick energy here.
Yes, and I thought I was going to say something, but I was like, I bet you he's going to say the same thing, so I'm going to send it over to him. Go ahead.
Ringo just like, he's trying to be nice, and trying to relate to her, and he has all these questions, but he's just like insulting her like big time. He's like, I heard white people burn easy and their eyes glow in the dark. And is it true you drink milk from the animals? It's like,
yeah.
Don't worry, I'll never.
Oh, go ahead.
Unhinged, how's it going, buddy? Thanks for dropping in.
Unhinged. Thanks for dropping in, bud. Swinging to say I love you. Love you too.
Kayla's here as well.
Kayla, hey you guys, thanks for jumping in. Oh boy, okay, I'm gonna try to say this right. Asamawati, Asawatomi. Yeah, I think I said it there. Hey, what's up, everyone? How is everyone's gooch doing tonight?
Nice and moist.
Yo, nice and glistening moist, eh? CLS, your loyal chatter can't chat tonight. I'm very tired. Good night, everyone. Bye, Jay. CLS, see you later, buddy. Thanks for jumping in. And thank you to everyone that's watching right now. Yeah, so going into this scene here, I had a feeling you were going to mention Shrek. When I was watching this, I'm like, I bet you Amateur's going to mention Shrek here. And I was right.
How can you not? It's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
It's a lot total of sidekick thing.
Yeah. A lot of homage is done in this series, which I appreciate because it's done well, besides the Kill Bill part.
Yeah. I was almost disappointed they didn't bring up onions, but they did do eggplant.
Yeah. Layers.
I'll never tell you their secret, even if they like torture me and make me eat eggplant, because that's worse than torture, apparently.
The beautiful thing about this animation, though, and I go back to it, it's very similar to Arcane, with like every frame is perfect. Like,
one thing I have noticed,
because
I've been making a review of this, which is coming along nicely, but awesome. The actual character animation is at 12 FPS. And I don't know if that means anything to anyone, but it does, like, compared to Arcane, which is done at 20 something. I think it might even be 24. There's that little bit, it's a little bit more, I'm not going to say jittery, because they do sort of make up for that in the way they animate it. But yeah, it does give it sort of like that, the Spider-Man, like Across the Spider-Verse, like that series, which is also done. I think they do it at 15, but like they I think they do that to try to make it look like it's adds this stylistic feature, like it's almost kind of like a puppet show or like a slideshow kind of feel to it, which I definitely like because they do it well here. Because if you just try to animate something like that normally, it would look very choppy and almost kind of give you a headache looking at it. But they managed to pull it off pretty nicely here, and it makes it sort of feel like anime. Because I know anime's like very minimally animated, ironically, but yeah, that was one thing I noticed. It is at 12 FPS. Meanwhile, the background and everything, all the other elements, they're all at 24. So it makes the character stand out a bit from the background, but it also makes the backgrounds look smoother and more realistic, I guess. Just something I noticed.
It's amazing. We got a flood of people coming in. Some people have grundles. Keep trying, Jay. LOL. Yeah, I know. I always scrape your me. We're rating this place. Thank you for rating this place. Duck Bacon, thanks for joining us, bro. Also Watomi ends like the sun anatomy. Also Watanami. Okay, I'm never gonna get it right. If Blue Eye Samurai had more traditional music, it would be a masterpiece. I agree with that. Actually, I would actually really like the more traditional music in this. I think it would have added a lot more. I agree with that. Thank you for the comment. That was great, Sage. And again, hit that like. And the man himself, Bogan Raid, Michael Bancroft. Thanks for joining us.
Hey,
I appreciate that. On his show, he talked about episode 5. He loved episode 5. And I'm glad he likes this series. Because I've been pushing it and recommending it on Twitter and in the chats, and I just I think it's one of the best things that's come out besides Arcane in the last 5-10 years.
It's definitely the best thing this year.
Yes, absolutely. So we're moving on. So the background is kind of like got that watercolor. Pastel kind of looking.
It almost looks like they painted everything with like a calligraphy brush, like old sort of like traditional Japanese art. Like they sort of almost nod to that when they show Fowler doing his little painting and like showing him painting it with like a calligraphy brush, which is like exactly how the backgrounds are drawn. Like whenever you freeze them and you just look at one of the background elements, it's very simple. But when it's in motion and you're paying attention to the characters, it's like photorealistic, which I find fascinating. That's like pure artistry there, as far as I'm concerned. That kind of shit blows my mind a little.
Yeah. And we touched on this before, like how simple the facial work is. It's like there's very little line work and
they only do what they have to do, which is it's great discipline. And it's effective too, because like you would just busy it up, I think. Not to mention, if they want to pump the show out, if they add any more detail, that's just going to be, it's diminishing returns at a certain point.
Yes, it does remind me of the old Disney Disney backgrounds, like the ones because I used to do cell animation way back in the day. That's how I got taught in animation when I was younger, and we would look at Bakshi and I'm forgetting his name, but we'd look at a lot of old school animation, and you would do a lot of painting and like kind of like the rough pastels and water stuff for the backgrounds, and you'd use it like continuously, and then you'd add the effects on top of that. And we would do we were taught at 18 frames per second.
Interesting.
Or is it 18 or 16? I think it might have been, I think it was 18. We were using a camera 18 millimeter frames per second, and it was a lot. I loved it as a young kid doing this. But this background, I will never forget Lion King. It's very similar, where you had this nice, clean character looks, and the background was all old school cell animation.
Also reminds me of Bambi a lot. I'm pretty sure they use a very similar technique. Like they do they'll have multiple layers of trees, and they'll actually do like little parallax shifts of all those different layers of trees, and it gave it this wicked 3D effect. It was way ahead of its time. It's something that's really hard to notice if you don't know how animation's made. But they definitely do that in spades in this show.
The one thing, like we mentioned this last week too, the clothing and the way they can make you feel in each scene with the colors, because
Yes.
like you feel the cold weather in these scenes just because of the grays and the dark blues and the browns, like you're feeling cold. And then
Yes.
when as we go in later on with throughout, like, and we'll touch on it when we see, Sakai and Akami and all them, you'll see the brights and the colorful colors, and it was just, you feel like like you could tell they're royal. Like it's really well done the way they bring the color schemes into this, and the details for the clothing as well.
And also, I've noticed that the way that they even animate the characters when they're supposed to be cold, they don't like, other than Ringo, obviously he's very like childlike and he moves a lot, but especially with Mizu, whenever she's in a cold environment, she's always like bundled up and very stiff with her movements.
Hmm.
And so are like a lot of the background characters. Very subtle, but I did notice that. And it also
Uh,
helps. The cold factor also helps because it's like 68 degrees in here right now. very
yeah,
very cold in
cool.
the old
Yeah,
Canada.
yeah. The first time I saw this animation like this, I think was with Klaus. Um, I don't think I've seen Klaus, or maybe I have seen Klaus. Is that the one? Is that the one with the mouse? Klaus? No,
No,
that no.
it's the Postman one. That
Oh
yeah, that
yes.
movie
Okay.
is great. Can't recommend that
Oh
one enough, especially
yeah.
to watch with your kids. It's actually amazing. That is very similar to this actually. Now that I think about it, but I do think it is all 3D if I'm not mistaken. But
Yeah, this is nicely done with 2D that makes it look 3D, which is crazy.
yeah, that's the
Uh,
part that blows my mind.
yeah.
It's all done with lighting and layering, which is like, okay, sure.
Uh, Julie, thanks for joining us. My husband has been watching this. He thinks it's great. It is great. It's fantastic. I even got my dad watching it. Um, so yeah, we're going along. Ringo is following along. Misu, and she's giving him warnings. He wants to be a warrior. He wants to be a warrior in training, a samurai. He's trying to find his own path, which I like. I love about this episode because we're gonna get into it later on. Ringo's really like you mentioned in the first last week how he's kind of like a special needs kind of character.
Yeah,
Um,
he doesn't really have a proper motivation yet, but he thinks he'll
mhm.
find it following Mizu, which yeah, we explore a bit better later. But yeah, he just wants to
Yeah,
be great. He doesn't really care how, so his motivation's kind of up in the air. But he does get
yeah.
one, so
And then they allude to this, which I think is I love too, where the first episode we saw Misu, pay her way through by bribing, and then realizes she's not going to be able to do that this time
yeah, she didn't
because
put
it
enough
makes her
skill
nervous.
points in speech, so she can't bribe her
Yeah.
way into this one.
Well, there was a couple. There was an individual, couple individuals that were trying to bribe their way in before, and the guards, the passageway, they wouldn't let them through, and they arrested them.
Yeah,
And so Mitsu's standing there. He grabs her, and then we of course get Ringo coming out from behind, saying, "Oh well, let me."
yeah, she like tries to shake him off before this too. She's like, if I see you again, I'll kill you, and then I'll never have to
Yeah,
think about you again. But meanwhile,
yeah,
he's still following her and gets her out of a jam. So
yeah,
there we go.
yeah,
Perfect Shrek donkey thing done. Check.
yeah, yeah. This is an interesting. I was trying to figure out why the blue like headband or is I guess that's the belt, the not the belt, the the garter belt or the traditional wraparound on the tombstone there,
Yeah,
in the blue there. I'm like, why is that there? Like, it's like, what's that indicating?
it might be a clan thing, but I don't know. I probably
Yeah,
should have looked that up. But one thing I did
yeah,
notice about this graveyard, I don't know if you've ever played it, but this is straight out of Elden Ring. Like every graveyard in that game looks identical to this. Like very busy. Some of like that birdhouse looking feature over there, which it's a Japanese made video game, so that's not surprising, but it just shows like
yeah.
how much homework the show did.
Oh yeah. D-Wag, thanks for joining us, bro. I'm watching on TV. Love you all. Chat bow. D-Wag. Go check out D-Wag's channel, Darren Wagner. D-Wag, he's got fantastic shorts. He is hilarious. He's doing great. He just got over 1,000 subs. Congratulations, D-Wag. You're killing it, man.
Nice.
Desolate Soul presents. Are you going to review of Uzumaki anime when it comes out? It looks like it's going to be awesome from the trailer. Probably. I'm gonna actually, Amateur, you down to do it again? Some other trailers reviews, or not trailers, but other reviews of other shows.
Sure, but do I have to watch anime? I'm not the biggest anime fan, I gotta admit, but I mean, if it's really good, I'll give it a go.
Listen, this guy is busy. He's doing tons of videos. Like we'll get him on. He might come on for an episode.
I'll come on for an episode.
Yeah. He's a bit of like Pareto from Puss in Boots. Actually, Andrew, thank you for joining us, Andrew. Good morning. This guy rated
Mr. 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Oh, craziness, I tell you.
Hey, he's got really high expectations.
Yeah. So yeah, we're following Mizu and Ringo through the and he's trying to convince Mizu that he's worthy of becoming a student of hers, and he's like I said, he's just trying to find his own path. The animation's fantastic. I just love everything. This is killer. I love this. That's great. The details. Go ahead there,
like
Andrew.
The amount of like sort of like storytelling that they have just in their background animation is, I guess you wouldn't even call that animation, but just their backgrounds is immense. Like, and then they always pull in for these other shots that add all this context and detail. And like, I've been watching a few videos on like the making of, and I forget her name, but like the artistic sort of director for the show, and the amount that they're trying to show of like traditional Japanese culture is actually crazy. I didn't realize like how accurate this show is. Is it Jane Wu? Yeah, the pink hair lady.
Director. Yeah, she was a supervising director and producer. I don't know if that's the one you were talking about.
That's probably her. She's got pink hair.
Okay. I want to shout out to Hostman Socrates, or Socrates, whatever. I always screw up these names. D-Wag makes hilarious shorts. Yeah, he does. Oz, great sage. It felt like a love letter to samurai movies. It definitely it has a feel of, I don't know if you played Ghost of Tsushima. It has a vibe of that with
it's on the list.
A lot of other,
that one's definitely on the list.
Great game. Netflix emulated the arcane style of animation perfectly with this. Yes, they did.
Although as good as this show is, I will say, because I'm working on a video for both right now, and Arcane is a lot better.
Yes,
like the show's great, but like Arcane is fucking insane. Like it's unfair how good it is, but the show's good. Arcane, it is good.
This is very close to it. So now we're with Tagan and Akemi, and he's severely rattled, and he's pondering this super clean cut as he got his hair cut off from Mitsu, and Akami's like convincing him like it's not your fault, you didn't get challenged, it's not official, it wasn't an official duel, he didn't challenge you, so you can't say he's a monster, he cut you off guard, so officially it's not a duel. He's buying in, and she's using her feminine ways to convince him, because she's in love. She doesn't want to be married off to some slimy lord somewhere or shogun. And she is doing a really good job here of talking to him and convincing him that he's a great shogun himself, a great samurai. And
but she inadvertently motivates him to all you have to do is kill him and then you get your honor back, which is his takeaway from that whole sort of like trying to build his like self-worth back up. And he's like, okay, so maybe I can still get my honor back. And like you see how important that is to him, because now he like abandons this whole, like, he doesn't like necessarily abandon the relationship, but like they're supposed to be married soon, and he's like, I don't care, I have to get my honor back, right? Like it's just
Mhm.
that's everything. It's like your entire worth as a human being in this culture is based on honor, which is pretty cool. Like he gets his motivation back, and now he's on a revenge quest of his own, and it's pretty interesting because it sort of mirrors the revenge quest that Mizu's on, but his is more based. It's almost more like of a how would you put that? Like he's not a Ronin, right? He's not like this wild card,
No.
like running around looking for an enemy that she doesn't even know. He knows his enemy. He's got a good
Mhm.
justification for doing it. It's more of like a traditional, like almost like supportable revenge quest versus, the sort of nihilistic vendetta that Mizu's on, which I find very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well. This part is interesting, and I'm going to mention something going back to the beginning of the show. Just 1 second here. I'm gonna
Hey, Cannoli's here.
Yo, Cannoli, thanks for joining us, bro. Go check out his channel as well. Great guy. He's a brother. Yeah, so this part right here, and we're obviously alluding to a sex scene. She is, gonna take advantage of kind of a distracted and befuddled Tagan, and this part, a perfect landing spot. So she's a virgin, she's pure, and in the beginning, I
Maybe.
said the blue eye. Well, she is because she's talking about the blood. She's mentioning the blood. So she's
Oh,
mentioning the
right,
blood
right, right,
because
right.
because of of his sword, and she's talking about his Piccolo piercing the piercing piercing the other warrior, but it's also piercing her, and she's losing her virginity, which she's going to be shedding some blood here. We
Which
obviously
would
we
be a
don't see
very
that.
big problem for her if she does get married off, because that's probably the first thing they'll check,
Yes.
which is gross,
Well,
but that's how it was done.
yes. And so yeah, so again, going back to the beginning with the red in the blue eye samurai sign or logo is another indication of how much blood is indicated in this episode. I would love to talk
Right.
to Michael Dean and Amber Nazumi about this because I think they would. I'm assuming that's why they kind of went with the red scene.
Yeah, that's a
Red
good
scene.
point.
With the red- Yeah,
That didn't even occur to me, but that definitely makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, she can just say she broke it riding a horse. She broke her hymen riding a horse.
I don't even
Uh,
think they let women ride horses in
I don't
Japan
think they
at that
did.
time.
No, he definitely pierced something. Yes, he did. Uh, Went into the so yeah, this scene is, and I'm gonna quickly fast forward to this because we know what's going on here. So she's making love, and she's also, I think, conning Tigan. I think she's in love with him, but I think she's also got an incentive to kind of con him in and coerce him into this uh marriage as well. Like I think they're both taking advantage of each other.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be married off to some, like I mentioned, some shogun that and I don't want to mention what happens later in the episode, but she doesn't want to be in that situation. And Tigan is using her because he's
Yeah, he wants to
son of a
advance his
fisherman.
name. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting relationship right off the get-go. um and I love throughout the series how it gets even darker, this relationship actually. So Tigan realizes that he has a mission. Like, it's funny, like he has sex with Mizu, and then he, or not Mizu, sorry, uh
Akemi.
Akemi, and he has clarity. He empties himself, and he has clarity, and he's just like, I'm gonna go fulfill revenge. Like, I'm gonna kill the person that did this to me, and I want to get my honor back. What are your thoughts about this relationship and this scene?
Yeah, like I said before,
Yeah.
he's got his motivation back, right? So
Hmm.
like he's got to get his honor, because like there's no way her father's gonna let her marry him in his current state, which we get to later. Like he's been humiliated. Like the only thing he had going for him was that he was like the poster child of the dojo, and now he's not. He's probably an outcast now. I'm not 100% sure on this because it was from a Reddit post, but there's a lot of I don't think symbolism is the right word, but they take that like cutting off of the ponytail thing very seriously. There's a lot of like symbolic value to that, and like you're supposed to kill them before you do that, right? It's like the ultimate humiliation in that culture at that time, especially to someone who's like considered, you know, undefeated or whatever. So it's like that's the worst thing she possibly could have done to him.
Well,
so
you saw
if he has he has a chance to get his honor back, it's like he's fighting for his life now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you watched Sanctuary, the sumo wrestling show on Netflix.
I have not.
When a sumo wrestler retires, they cut off the pony, like the hair at the back.
Okay.
They indicate that he's done, like he's retired. He can't come back from that. And it's very traditional. Like it's very, very traditional. Like you said. So yeah, he's leaving. She's like thinking that she's got him where she wants him, and she's going to convince her father. Kind of like a spoiled girl here.
Yeah, she's still very naive at this point. Like like that whole manipulation sort of thing does show that she has a lot of intelligence, but she has a lot of lessons to learn because she is very sheltered. And I don't think she actually really understands what life is like outside of her pampered castle sort of situation.
The comment she says too, he might kill you this time. And
yeah, and he just gives her the death stare.
Yeah, which is like you built this guy back up and now you're tearing him down because you're losing him again. It's just the writing for this is incredible. Like it's so well done. Like we mentioned, I think you mentioned in the first last week, every line has weight to it and has some sort of meaning for later on in each episode, and it's incredibly done. Well done. Like,
and I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that it's animated, because like if it's a TV show or something and you shoot like putting up all the sets, getting all the lighting, getting everyone in makeup and then shooting it, it's hard, but like, man, drawing it and animating it one frame at a time, you are not going to do that process over top of dialogue that doesn't do anything, right? So it's like it's kind of like this self-honing process. So like everything that they produce is going to be essential to telling the story, or they're just not going to do it, which is easy to get away from in like a normal live action production, which, you get a lot of these days. Holy fuck. It's like no one knows how to pace anything anymore, and it's like, god damn.
Yeah, no kidding. So Tagan's leaving. He's tracking, and this is interesting too. Like as he's tracking Misu and Ringo. He doesn't even know Ringo's exists right now, but he's tracking Misu. He's just like he's leaving a trail for me, and it's interesting. Like everything that it's done in this is like perfect.
Yeah, like she cuts the tree to show like some sort of emotional.
Yeah,
man. Now that I'm thinking about it, like she had this little emotional sort of response because of Ringo, where she cuts the tree, right? Which is the exact thing that everyone uses to find her. Like it's what ultimately leaves the trail telling them that, yes, you're on the right track. And it's like the only reason she would have made that cut ever was because Ringo sort of evoked that emotional response from her, right? So it's like, it's that whole, like, remember when she said in the first episode, a breeze can knock a crane off of its course, but you're like a typhoon. And we're seeing those consequences actually come to light, which is pretty cool. Like the writers really, really thought through all of these like scenes and pieces of dialogue, and it's very rich narratively. Like the more you look, the more you find, which is not something that you see very often, and you're starting to see it more and more in animation because animation is hard. So the writing better be good, or it's not worth animating.
Well, there's no fillers in this series either. Like there's no wasted scenes, no wasted fillers.
There's no padding.
Yeah.
Virtually no
and
padding. I'm sure you could find some if you looked, but it's very, very little.
And they're leaving. They're off to find a ship. There's a passageway. It's abandoned. They come into this town here. It's deserted, and they start looking around. And when I first watched this, I was like, "Oh, are we going to get another fight scene?" And the details of everything here is just amazing. Like it's just so well done. You get that cold, like I mentioned earlier, you get that cold, desolate like feel from everything in here, and it's just like, yeah,
and that warm glow coming from the windows definitely sells it.
Yes, like it's just perfect.
Contrast, man, it's super important. Otherwise, it's just boring. If you have nothing to compare it to, then there's no way to measure it. But when you give us all these warm windows, and then you have like snowflakes and shit, like it's cold. This guy's so hammered, he's in bare feet. I love this guy. Too much sake.
And then they come into the festival, where the I forget the name of the festival already, where the drumming, and they throw the wish sticks out in the water.
Yes.
There's no padding at all. There's no padding. And they're joining in. Ringo is just enjoying it. Like he's enjoying all the people, the environment. He's just loving every moment here, and distracted easily. Mizu and Ringo are trying to find a boat to take him to the island, and these guys are like, "Sure, we'll take you, but
tomorrow, not too early."
yeah, not too early. Yeah, come tomorrow, but not too early.
I love going for drunk boat rides, though. So, but a little bit on the festival, though. It's called Hidaka Matsuri, which basically means naked festival. It's a really, really old tradition that they've been doing for like 1,300 years, and the whole purpose of it is every year they sort of they do like this little trial where they go. It doesn't even necessarily say that they go swimming, but they basically have this feat where all the men go out and they like compete to get that symbol, which I forget what it's called, but it's basically about obtaining luck for the year. And the show actually has way more. Yeah. Well, I don't know if like the wish might be a thing added by the show. I'm not sure, but the show definitely has more about this than the Wikipedia page, which I find fascinating. So it's like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a real thing. It is a real Japanese tradition, which I think is kind of neat. But apparently only the men traditionally have participated. But I mean, it's 2023. What do you expect?
Yeah. So Mizu buys a little bell and ties it around Ringo. Ringo's excited by this. He's just, look how happy he is. He's a great character.
Because now it's official that he's the apprentice, right? You've given me something, so it's like giving Dobby his sock.
And I don't. Did we talk about this? The contrast between the two characters, like Mizu's so dark and focused and driven, and Ringo's so light-hearted and just happy to be alive and just enjoying everything that comes his way. Just lives for the moment.
Well, it's Shrek and Donkey, right? Exactly, Shrek and Donkey.
Shrek and Donkey.
Shrek has a very specific motivation. He wants everyone out of his fucking swamp and to leave him alone. And Donkey doesn't have one. He's just cast to the fucking wind. Mm-hmm. Which is, they do that perfectly here, which is great. Yeah, it's half the reason why Shrek is so good, because it's such like I could talk about Shrek for a while, but no, but they use that character dynamic perfectly.
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
It's just that whole like I'm so adult and I'm so mature and I don't want to talk to anybody, and then he's like the exact opposite of that. They even made him fat and made her really skinny, which just plays into that even more.
This is the part that's interesting. Tagan, he finds the tree stump, and he's looking at the tree stump and he sees the clean cut, like we were talking earlier about, and he knows it's Mizu, and he's like, "Oh, you left a trail for me. You did leave a trail." So like and they don't have to explain the shit out of it either. They just show him feel the bald spot on his head, and he feels the trunk, and he just says, "You left a trail," and it's like, "Yep, that's all we need to know."
Nice.
I also like this part too, where he just goes right past everyone and shows his pass.
Yeah. Well, they're
indicate,
all
like,
going down the same cookie trail, so they show all they
Yeah.
show every character interact with the same sort of like obstacles, and they all have a different approach to it. So it's pretty good writing there, I have to say. Because like a lot of shows, they would just skip right past that. They wouldn't really see the
Yeah.
need for it. But the amount you learn about each of the characters or groups based on how they interact with these obstacles is like, it's just good storytelling.
Well, you get a feel for the story. Like you get a feel for like when I watch this, I feel like I'm like there with them. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I'm in that environment, where a lot of shows you're just kind of like watching, from a distance, and you're just like,
Yeah, they get the escapism formula down for sure.
yeah. So the four fangs are tracking as well, and they're seeing the trail at this part right here. The breathing through the mask, I just incredible. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, great imagery.
Yes, yeah, great effect. Yeah, just giving you that. This guy's just like an evil person. Like these guys are not here to be nice to anyone. They're just here to do a job.
And I like how they choose not to show the whole face or the whole body. They're almost trying to make it like this like almost force, not really force of nature, but like this inanimate evil that's like at her heels. It's almost like mechanical, if you know what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very interesting. And like the hot, steamy breath coming out, they're like tuned up and just ready to take him out. Oh, I love that quote. Nice.
When I became a man, I put away childish things like the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. C.S. Lewis. Oh, wow.
C.S. Lewis is
Nice.
phenomenal.
Of course, Hostman has that. Hostman is great quote, dude. Yeah. So again, we're at the pass, and then we see the four fangs come, and this is the aftermath. So you're like, again, you're getting the feel for these individuals that they just take no prisoners. They just like wipe everything out. Like it just
I almost felt like
everything.
making a YouTube short about this. It was going to be like a little meme, like the 3 different types of gamers, like the one that doesn't put enough in speech, the other one that puts all of it in speech, and then the other one that never does anything stealthy.
Yeah. Like again, the effect.
Yes, they are the Nazgul. Thank you, Hostman. I had that in my notes and I forgot about that. Yeah, it's basically like that.
Okay.
Ringo is Sam, and they're the Nazgul. It's a bit more wild cards there, but good parallel, good nod.
Again, we get the cold, dreary effect with this, and then the warmth from the light.
And we know exactly which room we're going to because it's glowing.
Yeah. And then we have Haishi Shindo waiting for his flame to be from the arrow to be lit to indicate that the job is done by the four fangs. And this is the part you were talking about here. So I'm going to let you talk on this piece because you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah. And I have to say, man, what's his name again? The dude that does Fowler, Kenneth Branagh. His voice acting in the show is so bloody good. Like this scene is just amazing. Like especially the one line. He's just like, I hate painting. If I have time to paint, something is wrong. And it's just the way he just freaking elevates this character and just makes him so sinister. It's fantastic. Like if you gave me this dialogue on a page, I wouldn't make it anything like this. Like, are you kidding me? He does such a great job. But like, yeah, we finally get a proper introduction to our villain, and they do this nod to like sort of the traditional sort of hobbies, I guess, of Japanese culture. They do blocking, calligraphy, ceramics, and stuff. Because he's like a political prisoner at this point because they need him, but they also can't let the public know that he even exists because that's how corruption works. And so he's kind of like stuck here, and he's sort of like going down this path of doing these more and more deprivatious sort of like time passing things. And through like his calligraphy drawing, you sort of get this parallel between like the traditional Japanese calligraphy painting and like the actual art style of the show. Because like the way he paints, yeah, like right there, all of a sudden it becomes clear that the way that they've sort of like painted the backgrounds, it's brushstrokes from like probably a very similar brush to this, but you know, it's digitally done, of course. But I thought that was kind of neat, and yeah, he's gone all the way to painting like, you know, corpses being mutilated, and you get that little shocking moment where he shows that his subject is actually right in front of him, and they even set it up too, because before they ever show it to you, they show him looking up, and he gets this like look on his face, like he's very satisfied by this, and it's like, yeah, that tells you a lot about the character without having to give you this giant exposition dump about him. It's very cool.
There's two things about this when you're talking about voice acting. Also, Randall Park, when he doing Haishi Shindu there, I knew it was Randall Park, but he does such a good job with his character. Like he brings a kind of like almost a deeper tone to his voice a little bit, just a touch to bring out that.
I'm not super familiar with him, but I definitely, his voice is very familiar to me. So
yeah, he's in the Rock's TV show there, Young Rock or whatever his name is. But like he talks about his youth growing up. He's in there. He's the one that interviewing the Rock. He's also in he's in a bunch of movies all over. He's like kind of like that you know.
Oh, he was in The Interview. Interesting.
Yeah, he's a kind of like a background actor. Like he's kind of like almost like a, you know, second or third actor in line to the main actor there. What do you call like
he's like a supporting role or a B actor.
Yeah, supporting. Thank you. I couldn't even think of supporting for crying out loud. That's what I'm bringing. And the other piece I wanted to touch on is like everyone's in dark colors, and then you get to Abijah Fowler and you see the reds and the greens and you see the orange, like he's Irish, right?
Yeah, so he's got a European blouse on.
Yeah, you see the color changes with him, and I was like, oh, okay, this is so well done. Like to show that he's the dominant character here.
Yeah. And I also love how he looks gigantic compared to Heiji Shinbi, which is funny. Because you would be enormous in Japan at that time, because it's almost like a joke now, but Asian people were really short for a long time. They still kind of are, especially in China, but it's a neat little touch.
They would have been just over 5 foot. They would have been like 5'1".
Yeah, Europeans even weren't 6 foot at that time. Not often, anyway. Like you look at old architecture, it's like doorways were super short, and it's like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah. And then we get Mizu training here. This is a cool scene. I like this. Cutting the trees.
Yeah, it's like her imagination, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it's fighting her own demons inside her head.
Yeah,
which I really appreciated. And again, we see more blood. We're seeing like the so much blood in the background. And then she couldn't cut down the one tree.
Yeah, and that's what takes her back out of it.
Yeah, it just pulls her out, and then she goes into the water.
I love this flashback so much.
Yeah, me too.
Anything with the sword master is just perfection. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think he's probably my favorite character. And that's the voice of Carrie Hiroyuki Tagawa. I probably screwed that up. I'm just going to say Carrie Tagawa.
There you go.
I apologize if you ever watch this. I butchered your name.
Yeah, he does a great job. Just you're totally, like, just by his voice acting, you're totally convinced by the character. It doesn't feel like an actor saying lines at all. I love the monologue he gives to the crucifix in the next episode. It's extremely ironic considering when missionaries were allowed back into the country, they found a healthy underground church. Very interesting. I did not know that, but that is very cool.
Neither did I. Thank you, Hostman.
We will get there eventually. Now I have some Googling to do.
This leads up to, and this is obviously foreshadowing, but like we get to this character pleading to get a sword from the sword maker, saying that he's his father was killed because he was driving his cart and it splashed water on a warrior, and the warrior killed him for splashing him with the dirty water. And so he wants to avenge his father, and get, willing to pay him whatever he wants to die in his honor. Uh, so with the sword of the sword maker himself.
Yeah. The sword master knows he's lying somehow too, because he's just so
Mm-hmm.
bent on like that internal like looking at the soul to try and create
Mhm.
the right conditions for a blade to be perfect, and just being in that mindset, he can just tell he's lying. So he decides
Mhm.
to let Mizu make the sword, just
Yeah.
because like I guess he just considers that he's unworthy of an actual real perfect blade. And he knows Mizu's lying at this point about who she is, of course, because he's
Mhm.
just, that's part of his character to be discerning. Because like they tell you as the audience this in so many different ways. Like he knows which, like he's selective about the pieces of wood, and he just touches them. He's like, he's blind. How the fuck is he supposed to know which one is which, right? He's got this intuition. So of course he knows. So he knows that if he makes Mizu make the blade, that it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be flawed.
Mhm.
And oh man, the sound that it makes when he tempers it and dunks it in it should be
Yeah.
oil, but they dunk it in water.
Yeah.
Oh man, it like makes my spine tingle, because there's so much like narrative things attached to like sword making in the show, and there's so much like meaning and like from the characters, like the foreshadowing, it's immense. So when little events like that happen and they give you these like sort of tranquil moments, it adds so much more meaning to it. But yeah, when he dunks that sword, we get some really, really good like sound design there, just the sound of the bubbles, and
It is very good. I love it, and
it's so
that's why I had it
poetic.
in my intro. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Really
so poetic. He pulls it out of the fire and he's like, "What's the color?" And she's like, "It's a sunset, not quite touched the horizon." And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's just like that's so cool, man. And it is too.
Yeah.
It's like perfectly gold, and it's like, and if you know anything about sword making, which I do because of YouTube, that is like the perfect temperature. You don't want it quite white; that's too hot, but you don't want it orange because it's too cold. There's like this weird golden color, and it's like, yeah, that's fucking cool, man. Like, the show's so good
Wow.
for that. All of that Swordmaster stuff is just my favorite.
Oh, me too.
Sprinkling little bits of stuff on it before they fire it, and it's like, so that's how you get the pattern in the steel.
Here we have Mizu watching this man that wants revenge train, and then he starts talking to Mizu, talking about the breathing technique, and all of a sudden Mizu challenges this character. The man, all we get is the man that wants blood, revenge blood, or I think that's what they were talking about. Oh,
Yeah,
for revenge, yeah. And he just kind of just teases Mizu here, and just kind of talks about how you're not pure, you're a weak mixed breed. That's why you're weak. Um,
yeah,
and that fuels Mizu fire even more, which
yeah.
I
You're
find,
soft for a boy. Mixed breeds are
yeah,
always of weak stock, is
yeah,
the line, and it almost alludes like he knows Mizu's a girl, kind of, maybe not, but like it also shows that he is lying, and it's kind of a setup for that, because like you shouldn't know these techniques, because it's like at this point Mizu's been watching actual samurai techniques, and apparently
hmm
she's wrong, and this guy shows the little subtle differences between imitation and actually doing it properly, which is a little setup for, yeah, he's not this poor dude seeking revenge. He's like a dark character that just wants the perfect sword.
Also, Watomi, do we know how the sword maker is blind? We don't. Um, and that's a great question. I would love to get the background for the sword maker, and I'm hoping we get that in season 2. Did they announce season 2 yet? I think they did announce season 2, did they not?
They fucking better, or I'm canceling my
Yeah,
Netflix subscription.
yeah, me too.
Hey,
one
Zax
thing
is
that-
here.
Oh, Zax is here. Okay. Before we get there, yeah. Although one thing that always gets me in movies is you're not supposed to quench the blade in water. You're supposed to quench it in oil. Yeah, that's
100% right. It could
yeah.
be it could be peanut oil.
Yeah. Jana, thank you for joining us. Greatly appreciate that. And of course, Zax, the man himself, my other fellow Winnipegger. Thanks, brother, for joining in, dropping in. Haven't had a chance to watch this yet. Dodging spoilers like a ninja. Yeah, better get out of here fast, dude.
Yeah, we're gonna spoil the shit out of it.
Yeah, hot. I'm with you, Zax. We're on episode 2, the unexpected element. So yeah, then we're seeing Mizu, taking everything that was being said, taking it seriously, and realizing the breasts are starting to come through. Doesn't want to show the femininity, and takes the wrapping and tightens kind of like a girdle almost around her breast area. To make her more of a boy, even like when she sees herself in the reflection, she's trying to cover herself up. And
I'm just
this
waiting for the
right here. Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was just about to say it's not really important, but I'm just waiting for like the trans activist to come out and like, hey, look at this, she's trans.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
I guess we'll find out when the sword maker begins to trust her. Oh, okay. Have a good show later, host man. Thank you, Zax. So what is this that he's smearing? I was wondering if you knew this. Like, what is this that's being smeared on the blade here?
I think he does mention it. It must be some kind of like, I don't actually know. I'm speculating here, but it must be some kind of sort of like acid, because he mentions it shows the difference between the hard metal and the soft metal. It kind of reveals it. So it must be some kind of like etching, not etching. What's the opposite of etching? I guess it's etching. But the other thing I do like about this shot is they show these little grind marks in the blade.
Mm-hmm.
And those are like, they almost function like the wear marks on your tire. So as you're sharpening it, there's sort of guides for how much material you're taking off and to sort of balance it. Is it clay? Why would they put clay on it? I don't understand.
Yeah.
To be fair though, I'm not a fucking sword maker dude, but I have watched a bunch of YouTube videos of people making swords for whatever that's worth. Sounds like Hostman actually knows.
Yeah. This is a great scene too, where he gives the reins to Mitsu to stoke the fire and learn the craft. Everything he does with Mizu is teaching everything, like the sword, the building of the blades, the becoming a great sword samurai. The techniques, his hand on her back, guiding her, telling her how to breathe. Like, it's just everything he does with her is and I'm like, he knew the whole time that she was a female.
Yeah, of course he does.
Yeah,
but that it's almost spiritual. They give you like this window into an art form, and just the way he talks about it is so evocative of that. And he's like, your fire is in this edge, Mizu. It is ready. Like, is your soul like pure enough, or like is your mind or your soul clear? And she's like, yes. And he sort of gives her this weird look, like, I don't believe you, but this is my whole plan anyway. So yeah, let's go for it.
That's the other piece, is that he mentions talking about putting the soul into the sword. He doesn't believe that this guy's soul is pure, and as he says in his story.
Get some
this
nice
does
James Cameron fucking water bubble effect. It's amazing. Poor guy who had to draw all the highlights on those bubbles. Clay keeps the spine soft, the edge hard.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Did not know that. But this does look like oil here, now that you're looking at it, because water wouldn't bubble
No, water would not boil. But the oil that you normally dunk into, I mean, it might be clear if it's like a new batch, but it would probably get black really. Maybe he does use fresh oil for each blade. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, water definitely doesn't bubble like that. You're right.
No.
That looks like a deep fryer, man.
Because water's not as condensed as that, so you wouldn't. That's interesting. Yeah, here he's talking about the blade. I just love everything he mentions to her about the like in the first episode he talks about the string. On one side is life, and the other side is death.
Yeah.
And like everything he says in each episode leads to something, right?
Yeah, every
So
time.
he's talking. Yeah, so when he's talking about this, he's indicating that this guy is a shitbag. He's a dirty, con, and you figure that out when he's sitting there. He goes, "I'm going to use this to kill more people. I didn't kill a few people. I killed many thousands of people with my blades, and I wanted to have your blade to kill more. I'm going to kill more with this broken blade."
Yeah, it's gonna make me famous now.
And he mentions blood, the amount of blood that he's going to have on this blade. So another reference to blood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then the master stops. Yeah, he stops her or stops him from hitting her. And it's cool that he can catch his arm in the air. It just shows how much he's aware of his surroundings. Because, man, if you've been blind your whole life, you actually get pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also get that very distinctive laugh of his that he keeps doing over and over, which, comes up later.
It's fascinating with these scenes. Like, you could say these are filler scenes here, but it's
they're not, though.
Indication. Yeah, you go ahead, Amateur.
Yeah, because like later in the episode, when everyone's doing the ceremony, like the festival where they're doing the naked ceremony or whatever, they all dunk in the water, right? And Mizu goes off and does that by herself.
Yeah.
Well, she's waiting for I guess she's just waiting for the next day, but she's about to get jumped. But this is like it's almost tying into why we're seeing this scene at all. It's because she's being reminded of it, because she's doing this exact thing in the real time of the story, which is great. It's like a callback inside of the show. So it gives like, not only are there like 10 different setups inside of this flashback, but it also gives you a reason for why Mizu's thinking about it at all, which is just really neat. So I wouldn't call it essential, but it's like, it definitely has many reasons for being there, which is great. Because we get here now, and that's exactly why she's thinking about it, because she's doing the exact thing she did when that happened.
And then
it's also
Mizu. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. I'm jumping ahead here.
Oh no, we're seeing her go back to this tree and then slice it down with one swift swipe of the blade, because she had to reset herself and get her mind set, like you were mentioning. It's such a beautiful scene on the water, like it's everything about it sets everything up for each scene or scenes in the future. It's so well done, these episodes. You go ahead there, Amateur. I'm sure you had something to say there, but
well, I just want to mention Hostman Socrates is apparently a hobbyist blacksmith. That is super fucking cool.
Yeah.
Studied Japanese sword making techniques. Nice.
That's it. And I like this little kicker here, a desolate soul. I love that.
Pretty much. Maybe that's why he likes it so much.
This is the part I like too. Tagan's watching and he's watching her techniques. And then you see Tagan, start to train. And so then as he's training, he's facing his inner demons as well.
Yeah, the white devil.
Similar to Mizu, he gets to a certain point, and did we see it?
Where he tries to cut the same tree. He gets it, and he gets slightly deeper than Mizu's first attempt, but definitely doesn't hack it in half. Man, I probably couldn't cut that tree with a chainsaw. Probably take me a couple minutes. I'd have to make 2 cuts at least.
And here we go with the color schemes again. Like, she's pounding this material. But you see the beautiful colors. They indicate the royalty and the you know, the richness of the 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 Lord and the power and everything about this family.
Yeah.
Um,
Every room
it's
is just ridiculously big.
yeah. Every color is rich, like the reds, and then you see the staff. They're just plain drab looking. Like it's so well done. It makes the main character pop out. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, her
because
outfit's
that's
pretty
your focal
crazy.
point, right? Yeah,
I'm getting
that's your
Queen
focal point.
Amidala vibes here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well,
Um,
yeah, even mentioning that, a lot of those costumes for Star Wars were derived from like traditional Japanese and other cultures too, but a lot of it was Japanese. So at the end of the day, Star Wars, like at its roots, was like a modernized sci-fi samurai story, right? So
yeah,
it does make sense.
yeah. That's the beauty of this story. Obviously, she wouldn't be able to cut through a tree that thick, but
No,
you know, that's
although
that's
I do cut a lot
go
of
ahead.
wood, and you'd be surprised what a sharp machete can go through. But yeah, you are not fucking cutting a tree trunk. This is not gonna happen. Well, the
Yeah,
weight of the fucking tree is on your blade once it gets a certain amount of the way in. That's why you always cut a
exactly.
triangle with a chainsaw. But like, yeah, it's not happening. You can cut a branch. You can cut a really thick branch because it falls away as you're cutting it. But
This is such a great shot. The perspective here,
look how big
like
the
it's
room is.
yeah, it's great shot.
They have good
And
use
then
of god
again,
rays in this too.
yeah, and again, like again, the colors they just pop and bounce everywhere, and it's just like you know where you're supposed to look. Your two main characters, and then the girls in the back, hidden. They're there, but they're in the black. They're second class citizens. Like they get the feel of each scene with the way they do the colors and with the clothing and everything. It's just really like well done. Like it's just
Yeah, there's a lot of thought put into every shot. Definitely.
every shot. Um, I'm just like moving forward. We're talking about marrying the shogun, um, and Mizu's like kind of taken back, kind of surprised because she wanted to marry Tagan, and the Lord is going to marry her off. These two with their black teeth.
Yeah, they start
Um,
sneering her, and it's just
yeah.
like giving her this sense of dread.
hmm and he's saying like taking those white pearls of hers, like indicating her teeth, and making them black because he likes black pearls, not white pearls, um, which is putting more fear into her.
Yeah,
Um,
you want to live the rest of your life with charcoal in your mouth? Let's go.
yeah, and this
So
is
weird.
great too. You feel bad for her. I mean, but um, she's filthy rich, and
Yeah,
she's
she's in a
looking at
better position
all.
than like 90% of people, but it's
Yeah.
an interesting concept that like it didn't even matter like how rich you were. Everyone suffered in some way, but just
hmm
the degrees of suffering, it's pretty realistic, which is cool. But just showing like how, you know, obstacles exist in every sort of like section of society. Like they
I
didn't
love
they
this shot too. Oh, sorry, amateur. Go ahead.
yeah. No, go ahead. I didn't have
Oh, I
much.
was just gonna say, I love this shot too. Like like this open scene here with the snow and the obviously the cold effect coming through, but yet you see her with the bright colors and even her hair, everything about her is just like you're automatically attracted to that character. Um, like God, man, like this and Arcane have done so well.
The other thing too that this show does really well, that Arcane, I don't want to say they invented it because Pixar definitely invented it, but treating your
Mhm.
camera in an animated feature like a camera in live action.
Yes,
Because
yes.
traditionally in animation, your camera just kind of sits there, and you don't really like. You do put a lot of thought into how shots are framed, but like it's not the same as live action. Whereas in this, they're shooting it like it's live action, which is super cool. Arcane does that as
Like,
well, but
yeah, this is like a simple 2D animation right here. But when you get to like when you're watching it, you're getting all that, this to that to this to that.
yeah.
It just blows your mind that this is all 2D.
Yeah, and the
Um,
sequence of shots also gives you really good like geography, like a sense for geography. So like the hall extends on the right and left. Like that there's no roof behind the camera. That's why it's snowing. Like they set up the scene with a bunch of shots before they go in tight, which is great. I
Jason
swing my
Voorhees
sword like
decided to
Shinobi.
jump in. Hey Jacob, how's it going there, Jacob? Thanks for joining us. Hey y'all, dropping by to say hi. Say hey, have a good one. Thanks, Jacob. Not living life on easy mode because she's rich. What a concept. Yeah. Shaolin Tiger style. Yeah, so like she's trying to convince her father about Tagan again. He's like basically verbally beating her down, saying, not this time. You almost convinced me the first time. I'm not letting you get away with this. You need to represent the family. I didn't work so hard to get to this point of a
Yeah.
lord for you
Like
to ruin it for me.
yeah, you're not the hero of the story. I am. I'm the one that
Yeah.
took our name into the halls of the Shogun, not you. Like you're gonna listen to
Yeah.
me. You're not wrecking a lifetime's worth of work and suffering because you don't want to get married to a fucking rich guy.
hmm And then this scene where she just again she's resetting herself, which again alludes back to Mizu, who was in the water, resetting and her mindset and refreshing herself. And then Mizu is doing the same thing here, which I found fascinating.
She's having her Mulan moment.
Yes, and then sneaking off, and then gonna leave the temple, and then you have obviously Sakai come and who's voiced by George Takai. And it's George Takai, but it's not. He's not that.
He's put on
George
a voice.
Takai.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's made his voice deeper and a bit more guttural, which is nice. And like
Yeah.
his character in this scene, like it goes back to the very first shot with the two where they're like walking in step. Like he knows her super well. He basically raised her. He's her mentor. So he knows that she's running away, right? And he wants to go with her because obviously he wants to protect her. But like none of that's ever said. They have it all. It's all there for you to find, which that's disciplined writing. Like the writers obviously know this and they put this into there, but they don't beat you over the head with it. Which is like it's not a guarantee that everyone's going to pick up on it, but it's just it's nice to see.
And this is the first time we see Akami like with no makeup on and kind of a stripped down.
Yeah, you can finally see her nose.
Yeah, and you're starting to see her now.
Yeah.
Now, and this is like everyone thinks the story is about Mizu, but it's actually about. There's like 3 or 4 stories it told in this series. Like you got Akami with her story, finding her own path. Tagan, you got Ringo, and you got Mizu, and then you could actually add in the sword maker, who is kind of got a mysterious storyline, but is part of it as well. So you have these characters that are trying to find their own path besides the sword maker.
Yeah, all the characters, like they all have a well-defined motivation. They all have a path they're trying to look down, which is definitely one of the themes. But I would argue there's only 2 plots. Like there's the A plot where Mizu's the main character, and then there's the B plot where Akemi's the main character. Like in a TV show, it gets a little bit difficult to sort of discern because you do have to have a lot of different characters kind of with their own storylines, but ultimately there is an A and B plot. And I almost feel like it's like, I hate comparing it to Arcane so much because they're not really the same show at all, but they're not completely dissimilar. But there is a duality between Akemi and Mizu. Like they're both like it's almost like they're doing both sides of sort of a strong female character, but from a completely different standpoint.
Yes.
Like Mizu's a total outcast, whereas Akemi is like high society. Like everyone wants a piece of her kind of deal, right?
Mhm.
And she's just, Akemi's trying to like run away from that, whereas, you know, Mizu is on some revenge quest to try to like not erase her past, but to just get revenge for like all the shit that she's put up with forever. It's like they're almost completely opposite, not perfectly
Yeah.
opposite, but it's two completely different perspectives,
Yeah.
which I think is
It,
kind of neat.
yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. And then we're going back to the festival, and then we're seeing that we go to Ringo now. We like this is the beautiful thing about the series. You get all these great storylines with these characters that all blend and mesh in together so perfectly. Ringo here as the I don't know who this lady was again. But she's the one that's I can't remember the name they used for her, but she mentions like it's time to make your wishes come true, and your get that luck. And the lady's like, I'm wishing for a new husband. I got to find a future husband, and Ringo's just kind of looking at her like, okay, and then get
It's like,
sidetracked by
I'm
a guy
bigger than
walking
you.
by. Yeah. And then he starts walking around, and he realizes this is the part that I like too is he's trying out all these noodles everywhere because he seriously thought he was a great noodle maker.
Yeah, and then he realized the second best in this provincial town is like better than anything he's ever tasted. He's like, you're not even the best. Like, oh my god.
Cannoli.
Yeah, get that charcoal, Jay.
I will blacken my teeth for you there, cannoli. Black pearls for you.
But yeah, Ringo sort of gets his I wouldn't say it's his motivation, but like his self-worth has been put into question here because he's like, I thought I was great at something, but it turns out what I thought I was great at, I'm not good at all because this guy's like mediocre soup is way better than mine. What the fuck?
Yeah. This is second best. And he's like, I'm not even second. Like, it's like.
And then this is the best with the blue bowl. And he's like, what the fuck? I didn't know you could make things that taste this good.
Good, yeah. He's asking about ingredients, and the guy's offering him a job to clean up. I
can relate to that.
Yeah. And he looks up and sees Mizu, like and he refocuses his mindset to, no, I'm gonna like.
Yeah,
now I know for sure.
Yeah, he's presented with that choice, right? Like, okay, you have to pick your path now, right? Like every other character, you have to pick your path. Either you're going to be great by making noodles, by learning from me and going down this sort of simple road, or you're going to go with Mizu, which is definitely a lot harder, a lot riskier, but may or may not put your name in the history books. It's cool because now he has to find. Well, he's obviously motivated, but that's why I didn't want to really tie it to that. But yeah, he has to make that choice, like every other character in the show, at least the main characters. They all have basically two very difficult choices to make. Or I guess it's the same choice, but they only have two options, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he gets his.
Well, this we kind of missed the sequence where Mizu is like she just kind of I think awakes here, or am I jumping ahead? I think no, Ringo's looking ahead. The drum starts. Mizu starts to have a nap, and then wakes
up.
Where
she gets it's where she gets jumped.
Yes.
By the way, I figured out what that symbol means.
Oh, what does the symbol mean?
Or at least Reddit did. It's a kill counter. So apparently there's 4 white men, and then the one dot that's on that wrist represents Heiji Shindu or Fowler or whoever is her first target. That's the Reddit conclusion, but that might not be true at all. But it does make sense. So it's a kill counter.
Oh, I like that.
So for the next season there might be 2 dots, and if that's the case, I don't know. Well,
so getting back to the scene here, and thank you for that, amateur. Now I'm going to venture into that and go down a rabbit hole looking for that. But this scene here, we saw Mizu. She woke up from like a little dream there, but that was a kind of alluding to Luke Skywalker in his training, where he's walking through the cave and he's fighting Darth Vader, and he cuts the mask off, or the head off of Darth Vader, and the mask blows up, and it's Luke Skywalker himself.
That scene never made
Uh,
sense to me.
yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know what
supposed
the
to.
fuck. Did
That
Yoda
was
make a
supposed.
robot? Like, what the
It was.
fuck?
It was supposed to indicate the bloodline of Anakin to Luke. Um, so
Oh.
so this right here, she is like sneaking up behind a character that's on a couch, a dark character that's very European looking, and when she goes to kill the character turns around and it's her, and so I'm like, that's an indication of the bloodlines.
Oh, that
You
like
know,
weird dream she had where everything's like
yeah,
black and blue and yeah. And then like it shows
yeah,
the pregnant woman that gives birth to like the white devil mask and yeah, okay. I
yeah,
know what you're talking about now.
yeah. Um, this where
It's
she's
not
sleeping right here. Yeah,
yeah, it's not very long, so that 10-second counter will definitely skip it.
yeah. And I'm not going to play it because I'll get tagged. But so we're introduced to the four fangs. Great scene. And this is where again we're going to get lots of blood, and then we're getting the drum beat to go with it, and we're getting the, the bottom of the mountainside. We're having the festival. They start to strip naked up top on the mountains or the cliffs here. The four fangs are going to uh, target their get their reward for killing for getting the blue eye samurai. So doesn't sound like making noodles is easy for him. Harder path is most rewarding. Think you can only Hostman.
This
If
is
Reddit tells me something, I usually believe the opposite.
yeah. Reddit's not exactly reliable.
This is where we see sushi slong. Yes, we do see sushi slong.
Many sushi slong.
I love the mask. It's super cool. I really, really like that mask. And I love the solemn face, like the stoic look that she gives every time she's ready to go
I'm
into
pretty sure
battle.
she has that face the whole show. Does she
Yeah.
ever smile? Like
Um,
she doesn't cry. She doesn't smile. She's like she's kind of a plank of wood in that regard, but like it does make
yeah.
sense. So I can't really fault it. But we get that little Aragorn nut where she puts the sword up to her face and does the little before battle. It's just kind of neat.
The other piece I want to indicate here, and I was going to mention this earlier, but like the four fangs, their teeth are all black. They got black pearl teeth,
I wonder what
which is
that
interesting.
actually means because I have no idea.
Yeah. Does it mean like you're under one man's rule, or uh, take the N out of the fangs? Uh, oh, big girls don't cry. That's nice. Um, yeah, I noticed that when I was watching it again today. I'm like, oh, their teeth are black as well. I'm gonna dive into that as well.
Yeah, that's something
So
to Google for sure because it definitely means something or they wouldn't have put it in.
yeah, little Easter
But
eggs there.
I don't like in order for them to be Ronin though, that means they're not affiliated with anything. They're kind of like mercenaries, I guess.
Yes, hired assassins,
Yeah,
Ronin.
which isn't exactly
Maybe
the most honorable thing you can do in this society anyway. Maybe an ego
maybe an
thing.
ego thing. Interesting.
I don't know. Maybe white just
Uh,
looks too dirty all the time.
yeah.
It's hard to say without actually knowing.
So then we go back to Ringo. It flip flops back and forth, and that's what I like about this scene.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed
Then
about
we
the editing in this episode is the intercuts get shorter and shorter as the
Mhm.
episode goes on. It's in my notes because I always like to write down the scene changes, and I noticed each scene gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter until the point where all of the well, not all of them, but most of the different sort of story threads come together at the end. It's very neat how they did that, and it was definitely intentional.
Black teeth is a status symbol. Interesting.
Makes sense.
I'm with you, Cannoli. I love Ghost of Tsushima.
I gotta get that game. Is it just for PlayStation, or can you get it on Steam?
Good question. I got it for PlayStation. I don't know if you can get it for Steam. Cannoli actually would probably know.
I don't have a console, so
yeah.
I would love to play that game though. It looks phenomenal.
Oh, it's fantastic, dude. So now we battle, and he mentions to her, like, take off your glasses. We know who you are. He knew all along the mixed breed.
Yeah.
And this scene's great too, with, coming to the edge and just kind of jumps off, which that was done in what movie was it? The jumping off the edge, and then was it Guardians of the Galaxy? I can't remember.
I don't know.
It's another homage to another movie. I'm trying to think which one it was, where they just kind of jump off the edge and knowing that they're going to. Saturday Night Fever did that.
Yeah, I was about to say Aladdin did it too.
Yeah, Aladdin. That's
is that the one?
Aladdin.
Is that actually what you're thinking of? That's awesome. Okay.
I was thinking Aladdin. God.
I want to say it's in something more recent too. That is definitely. I wouldn't say it's a trope, but it's definitely been done more than once.
Tuning in to say happy Thor's Day chat and panel. Thanks, Vex. Thanks for joining in.
The fuck is Thor's Day?
Thursday. Thor's Day, Thursday. That's I'm assuming. Ghost of Tsushima is required to play on the Kurosawa mode. Oh yeah.
I always play on the hardest setting. Not to brag, it's just better.
Yeah, I always do regular and then go to hard mode.
Nah, fuck that. Hard mode right away.
Well, I suck. I'm not that good. I'm just like,
I've had Elden Ring for a year and I haven't beaten it yet. But although that doesn't have difficulty. Yeah, the camera work in this sequence, this whole fight is just nuts. How they can it's just evident of why animation was such a good choice for this story, because just the way the camera can fly up and down this cliff, you would not be able to do that with live action. Like, it's possible, but it would be so ridiculously difficult, it just wouldn't happen. Not to mention, you couldn't do this as stunts. Like someone falling, 20 feet and landing on a rock on their hand, yeah, that's inhuman. You're not doing that. But
we're gonna skip past this part. Oh, okay. Oh, good. We don't see too many. That guy's wearing. That guy's. Oh, we got boobage. All right.
They're animated. You should be fine.
Well, yeah. I just, you never know with YouTube.
Dude, Dark Souls 1 isn't fair. Don't even bother, host man.
It took me 2 years to beat Dark Souls 1.
Dude, it's not even hard because the enemies are super hard. It's hard because you can't fucking find where to go. That you die like 17 times trying to find the fucking secret door that you didn't even know existed. It's like, oh, really?
I like this because like Mizu knows which point of attack should come first. Like the analyzing each, like we saw in the first episode with the steps when she was going into battle with Tagan. She's doing this kind of similar here where she knows how to take on these 4, mercenaries.
Yeah, they've shown us the process, and now we recognize when she's doing that. They don't have to show the whole thing, which is cool. We're like sort of progressing with our character, which is nice.
Yeah. Another great shot, great perspective, just unreal work.
I love the way that they sort of like fade out objects in the distance, that like sfumato or whatever it's called, where like as things are further and further away, you pull more and more contrast out of it, which is it just adds so much depth to something that's literally a flat image with some 3D arms flailing up in the air. This is like, it makes it look like it's a mile away, but it's, it's not.
the other thing I like about this too is Ringo actually feels like he's a part of something here. Like he's not only does he feel like he's a part of Mizu's journey, but now he feels like he's a part of a community here where he's
Yeah.
never felt like he's belonged anywhere.
Yeah.
And then and then this well, there's there Mizu, hacking down everyone. It's a great like the still shots are not going to do any justice, but it's just great, fight scenes, like unreal fight scenes. Again, great. Then she throws the stick, and Mizu is making his wish. Just make me. What did he say? Make me
Oh God,
special.
I didn't even think I wrote it down. I think he just wanted to
Make
be great. Make me great at
yeah,
something.
that's exactly it. Make me great at something. Um, and just a second here. Someone better be looking out for Ringo while in the water.
Yeah, that's one thing I did think about. It's like,
Yeah,
how
me
the
too.
fuck do you swim without hands? Like,
Yeah,
that's
I know.
really important.
It's like 2 oars. It's just like, how do you swim with that? The drumming's continuing. The fight scene's still going on. They're rushing to. Well, I'll go back. They're rushing to get the stick, um, and then we go back to Mizu. Mizu's like, this is the part where I was like, oh, okay, they went a little too far with this, where she falls after killing 3 out of the 4
She
listeners.
falls just a bit too far to be realistic.
Yeah.
But I did like
And
how
then
they
lands on one hand.
Yeah, I know. They did set up the one hand sort of thing before because she
Yeah.
was doing that before, but like you can't fall that far onto your wrist, man. Like I don't care who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, that
The show
kinda
does
threw me off.
Yeah, the show does do that a few times where it's like superhero stuff, which is just like, they didn't have to.
Yeah, but it doesn't ruin the show, right? It's just
Yeah,
it's animated. It's going to be far fetched and exaggerated, and
yeah, it's a beautiful shot though. I
oh
have
yeah.
to admit, like this one you could put on your wall. Same with this one.
Well, that's kind of an homage to Karate Kid there. So again, a lot of homages. I'm not saying that's what they were going with, but it's kind of like the crane in the sun with Daniel
Well,
from Karate Kid.
yeah, it has all the same tropes, right? Like
Yeah.
the old mentor who makes you do all these like ridiculous, tedious things. It would be a mistake. Tedious.
No, go ahead. Yeah, yeah. This scene right here. First thing I thought of was like, oh, not this scene, but
Naruto.
well, I'll go back where they're fighting for the stick and they're all underwater and Ringo's under the water. I'm like, all that sausage and ball bag action and gooches landing on your face.
Oh, he's in heaven. What do you mean? I'd like to think that one of his stump arms made an accidental penetration somewhere. Just trying to feel around and try to swim.
Yeah, that's not the stick you're looking for. I've given cartoons a bit more credence than for this kind of stuff than live action. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Arcane does that too, but like it defines its rules very clearly, very early. Like they show like how far a character can go, but they also show the limitations, and they do both of them very quickly, very close together, which this show does as well, which is fine. Because there has to be a bit of a fantasy element. Like there always is. And if you can get away with it and you can do it well, then great. But it's probably the first moment in the show where it's like, oh, okay, so this is gonna be a little far fetched. Fine. It's not gonna be completely realistic.
Great scenes, great fight scenes. Mizu falls down, cutting the guy in half, falls to the ground. The shore wakes her up, and then she faces off against the number one fang, one fang, I guess now, and the realization it was the man that we had the flashback with, the man that tried to con the sword master or sword maker in the flashback, that had the broken sword. And again, we get great setup, great action scene here.
These shots here with the sunset in the background and the way the waves wash up is fucking
Yeah.
immense. It's so good. Let's
Oh, yeah.
make it your desktop background worthy. And like the waves
Yeah.
don't come up until their swords clash. It's like, man, I wish we got more shit like that these days.
Oh, I know. Even these scenes are just fantastic.
Oh, I love this moment. Leave it on this clip here.
Sure.
While their swords are binded together, there's this little subtle thing, and you can see her staring at it, and she comes to this realization. She's like, I know this sword has a flaw because I made it, right? So I know how to like, I'm gonna like break it or whatever. But there's this little moment of realization where she gets this plan, and I thought that was so cool. It's so subtle. It's like super easy to miss, but I thought that was pretty neat because like, why would they make her look at it? You know, that's definitely intentional, and you can just see the difference between their two swords as well, which
Yeah.
the show puts so much weight on the importance of the sword itself as almost like a living, breathing thing that there's no way that wasn't intentional. Like she's got that
Just
blue,
the darkness, the contrast,
yeah,
right?
like the blue sparkly meteorite, like almost celestial sword versus some flawed amateur like mistake, right? And it's almost symbolic of her like fighting her own past and her own mistakes. It's just the more you dig into any of these little things, the more you find, which it just keeps reminding me of Arcane because it does the exact same thing. And just with those two examples, I've drawn the conclusion that it comes down to the fact that animation's hard and you don't animate things that don't mean something.
Yeah.
It's a very nice touch by the writers. And the writing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's relying on the writing almost completely.
Yeah. Great scene. And then this is where she actually sees Tagan in the distance, and it distracts her, and he slices her right just under the liver there, which could be, is very deadly.
Well, you can't hold your body up anymore now. You've cut the abs. Or the what's beside your abs, your lats. Anyway, it would, really bad muscle to Nick.
It'd be the abdominal muscle, like it would be like almost like it would be getting into the serratus muscle. Be like it's great. Obviously, a great kill shot, and then he's gonna like take advantage of this opportunity, and this part right here, such a good shot. Let me see if I can.
It's a cheap kill, but it was necessary.
Right there. But like the water splashing up, the sun behind it, her throwing the sword, it's
one of those moments where the animating team, the art directors, the writers, like everyone came together, and like you could tell that this was something that was developed over time. So like the writers would write the scene, the actors would act it out, the animators would animate it, they'd storyboard it, and then they would come to realizations like, oh, what if we blasted the water up when this happened, or what if we did this? And it's like, it's something that's developed over time where like they'll make it one way and then they'll realize they can make it better, and then they come back and they do that. That's when you get stuff like this, where it's just so many department decisions coming together to get to a certain goal. I love seeing stuff like that in any media, and there's so many moments of that in this show, and it's sort of weird how they made this show so fast too. I think it only took them 2 years from like when they first started, or when they had the first script done, to like actually out on Netflix. I'd have to look that up. It didn't take them that long though, whereas like Arcane took 6, which is insane.
Yeah,
that's like someone's whole career.
I think the animation only took a year to do.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
like it's definitely more simple than something like Arcane, but like it's still not basic. Like it's not like anime.
No.
There's so much more layering and secondary and tertiary motion.
Dynamic. Everything's so dynamic, and you're like, oh, this is 3D, and it's like, no, it's actually 2D.
It's both
meant to look 3D. Yeah, it's a combination. And it's amazing how modern
animators can make things that actually are fully 2D, how they can make them look 3D.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So she kind of fulfills kind of a moment here for herself.
Yep.
Um,
First
and it was
character culmination.
yes, and also like the when she was battling her inner demons. This is kind of that moment where she kind of conquered one of those demons,
Yeah.
but didn't even realize that she was doing it. Um, and it just came to a head right here. It's just beautifully crafted, like just great storytelling.
Yeah.
Um, just a great powerful moment. And then obviously we go back and we got Haishi Shindu waiting still for the arrow to hit and to light the torch, indicating that the job is done, and it never
Yeah.
happens.
And he's a smart man, so he's probably figured out how long it should take, and it hasn't happened yet, so his anxiety is probably through the roof.
Yeah. Because they truly believe in everything being perfect.
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen a Japanese train schedule? Hell yeah. They're fucking
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just like part of their culture, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then Tagan approaches, and he's now set to get his revenge and fulfill his, kind of journey here. And then Mizu, falls and collapses, and this is kind of the end of the episode right here, pretty much.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I can't strike you down because this isn't
Yeah.
honorable. This doesn't feel satisfying.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna gain me shit." Because it's like you just
Yeah.
killed the four fangs, and then what? I'm gonna kill you when you're compromised. Like that means nothing to me. And it shows that
Which is
it sort of shows with his character too that it's almost not even about what society thinks of him. It's what he thinks about himself, which makes him a much more. Oh, I'm not gonna say much more likable, but it definitely makes him more likable if you realize that about him, which is cool because he does get a little bit annoying later. So it's important to he values what he thinks of himself more than society, which is just that's better in most cases.
Well, here's the irony. She capitalized on him at a weak moment that, in his eyes, was not honorable.
Yeah, it's
And
cheating.
he's cheating, and he has, like you said, he has an opportunity to do the same thing, but he can't. He can't will himself to do it, which is so ironic considering how the first episode ended.
Yeah, he goes from I'll stop at nothing to
Yeah,
this isn't satisfying. I want it to be perfect, right? I want you to be at your best. I want me to be at my best, so that when I kill you, that means I was better, right? That's what he's interested in, which is neat because it's true to his character. This whole it's reminiscent of his whole journey as a character throughout the whole story, right? Things have to be a certain way, or it's not worth doing.
Isn't his teeth supposed to be black? I don't think the men do their teeth. I think it's more the women, and then the masks. I'm assuming. I'm gonna dive deep into some of this and
Yeah.
figure some of this stuff out.
I feel like the mask itself might have something to do with anonymity too, because especially in those days, if you were a sword for hire, wouldn't that kind of be frowned upon? And you probably wouldn't want everyone to know who you were. I feel there's got to be an element of that in there, but yeah, I want to read up on that too because I'm curious now. I was curious about that tattoo, and it's not the most satisfying thing, but it does make sense. But
totally.
That's according to Reddit, and fuck, when is Reddit correct?
Well, that's episode 2. A great, usually we get the first episode, which is a banger, and when you see a series and you're like, okay, what's episode 2 like? Is it going to be dragging me into something that I don't care about and I'm going to lose interest, or is it going to keep me invested in this? And actually, after episode 2, you're like, this is a fantastic series. I'm sold. I'm going to continue watching because, like we've mentioned so many times going through this, the writing's incredible, the artwork is incredible. Everything that they do with this series, this show, is just amazing. Um, I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're going to agree with that.
Oh yeah, like especially going from episode 1 to episode 2. Like usually with your first episode or like any pilot, you're basically just introducing the characters, trying to sort of define the expectation of the journey. Like, you set up motivation, you set up the ideal, you set up your villain. Like ideally you would do all these things, and then the second episode is either you're going to add more information on that, expand on that, or add an obstacle. But with this show, we're given more and more and more and more, but it never feels overwhelming because every new piece to the plot is like it adds more to what already exists rather than tacking on more things to make it complicated. It's not even like it's expanding. You are getting new elements, like Akemi's running away. Like you may or may not have seen that coming, or like, okay, our main character, it's episode 2. They haven't really even hit like the first obstacle of their quest, and now they're injured, and it's like, okay, now what? So you get your cliffhanger. Like, it's just usually when you watch a show where they add more characters and more crap to the second episode, you start to forget about everything that happened in the first one. But this show doesn't do that because everything is tied to those two storylines, those two story threads. Like everything, which is super cool. Everything. And then all of the plot events are tied to these flashbacks with the Swordmaster, which just creates this cohesion between all the events that happen, which is just, it's great. It's almost analogous of Mizu's entire character journey too, because everything goes back to the Swordmaster and what she was taught and her reasons for going on this quest in the first place, the reason why she's a good samurai, the fact that she's an outcast and all that. Like every time something big happens, it always comes back to either a flashback or actually going back to him and relearning that center, that pure soul, or that original like samurai ideal that was established at the beginning, which it becomes more and more prevalent with each episode, which is just fantastic. So they can keep adding more and more elements and more characters and more complicated plot events, but it doesn't pull anything apart because it's all tied to that, right? It's building a tower rather than, trying to hang things off of a structure. It keeps making the narrative stronger, which is fantastic. And a lot of TV shows do the exact opposite of this. They start out with something simple and clear cut, and then they start fucking around with like the timing, like, oh, we're doing flashbacks, we're cutting to the future, we're doing this, we're adding this character and this whole subplot that means absolutely nothing to the main story. And it's like, it makes everything forgettable, and it takes away so much punch to the story. And then the worst thing you can do is you'll set up that ideal in the beginning. Like in this show, for instance, the ideal is to become a samurai, to be honorable, to do the right thing. If they were to subvert that somehow by all of a sudden making the whole samurai thing evil or undermining it, it would absolutely ruin the plot. And a lot of shows do this, and it fucking kills it. They're like, oh, we're being interesting, we're subverting your expectations. It's like, no, you're not. What you've done is you've done Jon Snow again, right? You set up this character to be the fucking king who kills the evil doer and the dragon and becomes king. You had to do that. No one was going to like it if you didn't do it, and they didn't, and it sucks. It doesn't suck just because of that, but it'd be like in Lord of the Rings if Aragorn died and someone else was king. That would be fucking lame, You cannot subvert the ideal. I mean, you can, but like, you have to have a very fucking good reason to. And the show hasn't done that. At least it hasn't done that. It might. Honestly, it probably could. It subverts a lot, but it doesn't subvert that ideal. Like the main direction you get at the beginning that the character's going on. It gets complicated. You learn more about it. But like ultimately at the end of season 1, she comes back to the Swordmaster, and Ringo reminds her after the whole shitstorm. And it's like, man, I followed you because I thought you were honorable and were a samurai, but it turns out you're not, and all this shit. And it's like, oof, you know, it gives it impact.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, everything's this show's nicely contained. It's like in a nice little box, and you're just everything's like intertwined, and everything blends nicely.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
It's intertwined.
yeah, it's done brilliantly. You said it all, dude. Like you're a lot more articulate than me. I'm just a
I
thug
felt like
that
I was
just
rambling nonsense.
No, it's you do really. This is what you do really well. You're really good at dissecting movies and series. This is why I'm excited to have you on and talk to you about this stuff, because you have a good eye for this stuff and you know how to articulate it really well.
I just want people to think I'm smart.
I want to get back to this. Also meant that dead four fang guys, not Taiga with the black teeth. He's like asking, isn't his teeth supposed to be black? I think they just had the masks, the teeth on the mask black, but not their actual teeth. I don't think they would
I
actually do their own teeth, because that's like it's kind of like a
yeah,
like
I thought it was like a
punishment.
clan thing almost. Like it was a preferential
Yeah.
thing. Like when Akemi gets her teeth done, that was because the sort of clan that she's getting married into, that's what they preferred. That's
Yeah.
how I always kind of looked at it. Because like I haven't done a lot of reading about it, but what I have seen is that like the Edo period, everything was broken. Like obviously the shogun was like the main government structure, but like everything was broken up into clans, and they were all very preferential on a lot of like details like that, like the color of garments or like the way that they would do their art or whatever. Like it was all slightly different and it was all preferential. And I always thought that was just part of that, but I don't actually know. I gotta read more. That's the cool thing about the show is it creates a window to appreciate like history and like an entire art form, which is just it's just a testament to like the quality of writing and how much care that
Yeah.
that fucking power couple put into the show. Like they really cooked on this one, man.
Oh, okay. He says, I thought you weren't talking about the mask teeth, but you saw the fangs, people's actual teeth. Just saw the still of the dead one, and his tooth looked white. But you guys were talking about the mask. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
We were talking about the mask. How I noticed like the mask teeth are all black, and all of their masks had black teeth. And Hostman mentioned it's a. He googled it. I'll go back up here and see if I can find it here. It's something about royalty, or what was it about? It's a
I thought they said something about it being like a status symbol.
yeah, it's like a status. It's way up there, but it's just like a status symbol. Yeah,
Some kind of like I'm a better fighter so I can have darker teeth or something.
yeah. So I guess we can end it here. So amateur, where are you going to be for next week? What shows are you going to be on for the rest of this week and into next week?
I actually don't think I'm on anything for like between now and next episode of this. I don't think I'm on anything.
Oh,
Just gonna be plugging away at my 2 videos. I hate making release promises, but I'm gonna try to get my Blue Eye Samurai review out by like I want to say mid next week. But
oh wow, okay.
I fucking hate making promises. It's looking like it's gonna be a 12-minute sort of like as spoiler free as I can be kind of review. But it's still kind of up in the air. I got to redo like the voiceover and stuff because it sucks. But I have everything down that I want to do. I have all my footage and stuff, so it's just a matter of putting it all together. Should only take me, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. But I'm working on 2 videos at once, so it's kind of weird. And my Arcane video's turning into a documentary. I got like fucking 40 pages of notes now, which is like, oh god damn it.
But dude,
Yeah,
your videos
it's gonna be
are
like
awesome, dude.
it's gonna be at least an hour long. I can't see how it's gonna be any shorter at this point, unless I want to make it 2 parts, which I don't.
Well, you will be here next Thursday as we go on to episode 3.
I will be
I'm
here
assuming.
next Thursday. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So next Thursday we'll do episode 3 here on Desolate Souls Presents. And yes, it's not Desolate Souls Studios anymore. It's Desolate Souls Presents. And if you could, please go check out Amateur Analyst on YouTube and Rumble. He's got some incredible videos of breakdowns. Go check him out. As for myself, I've had a very busy week. I had a great interview with the editor-in-chief of Spawn Comics, Thomas Healy. And then last night I had Mandy Summers on and had a great discussion with her. So go check those out. And going into Saturday, I guess I can announce it now. I'm officially part of the crew there on Hypnotic Saturday Night Hypnosis.
Nice.
So I'll be on there. Yeah, so I'll be part of that crew on Saturday nights. And then next Tuesday, I'm going to have Leon here. Leon is he's got his channel. He'll be on here Tuesday. I won't be doing anything Wednesday. I'm going to be taking some time for myself. I need to rest. And Thursday, I will be back here with this gentleman to my right. I was about to say my left.
Hey, your left,
But,
they're right.
Yeah, my left, you're right. And we're going to be doing episode 3 of Blue Eye Samurai. And I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys joining us. And everyone that's watched the show, please leave your comments. Please subscribe and hit that like button. And we will be seeing you guys next week. Everyone, please take care. And anything you want to say before we take off there, Amateur?
I think you said it all. Stay classy, folks.
Stay classy, San Diego. All right. Take care, everyone.